Hey, what's going on, you guys? This is going to be a very entertaining story video that I really hope that you guys really like. So this video is going to be about one of my experiences with Xanax. This is going to be a Xanax story time. So I did Xanax 2 times in my life. Well, this story is about the second time I did Xanax, but I'll try to break this video off to 2 story times. But the first one, the very first time I did Xanax, is kind of a short story. But the second one is going to be insane. So grab your popcorns out, grab your snacks, grab your drinks, grab your water, whatever you do, and let's get right into this video. So this first story time, we're gonna talk about the very first time I did Xanax. Now, for those that don't know, Xanax was my very first drug I've ever did. I will never do Xanax ever again after what you'll hear in the second story time. But so here it goes. This happened around very end of 2015. So this happened 5 years ago. So we're going way back into sophomore year of high school. So sophomore year of high school, end of 2015. It's a normal day. I'm just sitting there in my math class, was it, right? Yeah, math class. And I'm just like, all right, I just need to use, I'm kind of stressed out. I need to use the bathroom because back in the day, I used to like take very long walks in this because my school used to be a big building. You know, my old high school I used to go to, it was a very big building, and I would like take these very long walks because I was very stressed out at the time and all that stuff. So I see this dude come down the hall. We're gonna call him Johnny. You know, I see Johnny walking down the hallway, and we're like, hey, what's going on, man? What's going on? And he was acting a little bit weird, you know. I'm just like, wait, why are you acting like that? And he was like, bro, I'm so high, I'm so intoxicated, and I'm not me, mind you. I didn't do drugs yet. I didn't smoke weed yet. This was way before I started smoking weed. So I was just like, whoa, you know, that's kind of cool. Like whatchamacallit, what drug are you on, or what was it at the time? Because I can't remember how I said it. I was like, oh, what are you on right now? Well, that's just basically how I said it. He was like, oh, these pills on Xanax. Like he pulled out this foil, this aluminum foil, and it had a little like square in it, and he opened it, and there was these 2 white pills on there. And I'm like, well, I've never done drugs before, but I can't remember exactly what clicked in my brain to be like, hey, let's try this drug, or hey, let's do drugs, you know? Because I know a lot of people are going to be on here and be like, man, how did your brain click from being a normal kid to a druggie, or to like being wanting to do drugs? Honestly, I really don't remember, and I don't really know exactly how, but I remember just standing there. And I'm like, well, you know, I resisted at first. I was like, nah, not really. He's like, come on, bro. Let's like. And Johnny was like, come on, bro. Let's do it. Like, it's nothing really major. You just feel chill. And I'm like, well, and I kind of still resisted a little bit. I'm like, I mean, I might be a little bit good on that. But he was like, I'll give it to you for free. I think that what made me wanted me to do the drug for the first time, because he was like, you know what, I'll give it to you for free. And I'm thinking in my head like, all right, I don't have to pay for it. It's just a free high, I guess. So I popped it. You know, he was already on it. We didn't pop it together, like I said on my Instagram. We didn't pop it together. I popped it by myself. Like the very first time ever doing a drug. It was a half a bar of Xanax. It wasn't a full bar. Like, whoa, you went that crazy on a full bar? Hell nah. I just took a half. I took a half a bar, and I think it was prescribed Xanax because this wasn't really strong. As my very first time being intoxicated, because I was literally only because I remember walking back to my math class after I popped that pill, and I would sit down, and everybody was writing notes, and I'm like, all right, let me write some notes. And for the first time in my life ever, I couldn't write down any notes, and I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what's going on? Like, holy shit, this drug is really kicking in. And I'm kind of screwed, you know. I want to pull out my phone and take a picture of it, but I didn't want to look any sus, you know, because this was a very like strict school where the teacher would look everywhere and shit like that. And I was just sitting there freaking out, you know. I'm like, shit, I can't write anything. I might have to copy off of somebody the next day, which it didn't happen. But let's continue along. I remember sitting there in math class, and I'm just like, shit, I can't write anything down. And I remember this one girl sitting right next to me, I will never forget. She would just stare at me with this weird look, and I'm just sitting there a little bit barred. Well, I wasn't barred out with how I was in the second story time, but this one I would like. I was intoxicated, but I was functional. If that makes any sense, like I was still functional enough to get up, grab my stuff, and on to my normal day. Even though I couldn't write for a good like 30 minutes to an hour, I was just like, okay, let me just ride this out, I guess. I mean, the high didn't last the whole day, because I remember by the end of it, right, like, because let's continue along with the day. You know, it's lunch, I'm still feeling it, and then it's science, then it's gym. You know, the high is kind of going down very fast, because it doesn't really last very long. And by the time it hit the end of the day, that's when I was like, you know, feeling soberish, but at the same time, I was just like, you know, like I was a little like off balance with, you know, with myself, but if that makes any sense. So right when I got home, I remember passing out on my mother's couch. Like, oh, not my mother's couch, it was my parents' couch. I remember getting home, just laying down, watching TV. I never watched TV in the living room because I was just too bored. I was a little too lazy to go upstairs. And what Xanax do to you, like, it just makes you fall asleep. It makes you black out to sleep. Like, I would deadass knock out and not even notice. You know, it's kind of like what I said. Like, if you go to my first video when I was talking about hospital story when they put the laughing gas on me and shit, and I knocked out without even noticing. That's literally Xanax. Like, whatchamacallit, I slept on my mother's couch, and I remember my mother had to wake me up, and I woke up, like, and she was like, what the hell, what the fuck are you doing down here? What, like, you can't sleep in your own room and stuff like that. And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. And I just went upstairs and just knocked on my bed, and that was the story. You know, that's the end of the story. Of the first time ever doing Xanax I highly don't recommend doing any of this shit. But here now, and we're running into the second story. So this happened months after I took the first Xanax. So this story happened like in March of 2016. So we're going back like 4.5 years ago. And this is a really long story. So I remember sitting in health class, and I was like, hey, Mr. O'Donoghue. I haven't said that name in years. Oh my God, like, I miss Mr. O'Donoghue. But I was like, hey, Mr. O'Donoghue, let me use the bathroom and stuff like that. Because I was just stressed out at the time, but I was like, you know what, let me use the bathroom real quick. Mind you, I did not know this dude was going to be in the bathroom. So I was walking towards the bathroom, and, you know, I go into the bathroom, I go and do my business, and this other dude, we're going to call him, we're going to call him Jalen, I guess. Yeah, Jalen. And Jalen was like, hey, yo, what's up? And we were both shaking up, and, you know, and he was like, yo, I got these bars. And I was like, oh, I only have $7. And he was like, well, you know, I don't care. He'll just take it, you know, because it's literally, because sometimes they sell it for like $10. Sometimes they'll sell it for like $5. It really depends on who you go to. But he was like, oh, just give me like $7. It's okay. You know, just take it. And I can't remember if it was in a dime bag or if I just had it in my hand, but I had it in my hand. I will never forget. I had another button-up shirt on this day also, as the weed story. I think I put it in there. Actually, no, I wasn't wearing a button-up shirt. I was wearing like a sweater that had a pocket like this. Yes, that's a better way of putting that. So, because I remember I was wearing a blue sweater, and it had a pocket on the side, and I just threw the bar in there. And I walked back to health class, and I was like, all right, let me save this to when I get home. My original plan was to pop this whole bar of Xanax this time. This is a whole bar this time. And I'm like, all right, let me do this when I get home. That was just my initial plan. So I go back to my health class, and I'm sitting there, and whatchamacallit, like, I'm just sitting there, and, you know, the class went on and on and on, and I'm just like, all right, you know, I can't wait. I'm just waiting until the day to go by so I can do this drug. So once lunch comes around, I have no idea why this made me want to pop a Xan while I'm in school, but I was just very stressed out at the time. So I was just walking down the hallway, going to my locker. I remember I would go to my locker, and I dropped off my normal books and stuff, and I closed my locker, and I'm walking down the hallway, and I remember, I'll never forget, I had this pill in my hand, and I remember just popping it like this. Like, it tasted like shit. Like, it tasted like monkey balls. Like, it tasted really bad. Like, it tasted like ass and ass cheeks. Like, I don't know. It tasted very bad, and it was a mixture of the weed taste, and I'm like, ugh, this tasted like a little bit of Kush, because it was in a dime bag, I'm pretty sure, or in the rest of his sack. So I'm just like, this tastes very bad. And whatchamacallit, we finally get down to lunch, and I did not expect this drug to kick in on me so hard and fast. Because I remember I'm just sitting there in the cafeteria in a normal seat like this, and there are these two kids come in. They wanted to play cards, because every single day we would play cards in lunch to make the time pass. And I remember just slowing down as I'm dealing the cards. You know, I'm like, and they're like, "Yo, bro, you good? You good? You good, bro?" I'm just literally, and now I finally dealt the cards. Once I'm done, then we were like, "All right, let's just continue along." You know, I'm fine, dude. I'm fine. You know, I have the cards on me like this, and I'm just so barred. Like, I remember everything just feeling very fadey, and I'm just dropping down any card I can. And whatchamacallit, you know, I lost a lot this day, but I not a lot of money, but I lost a lot of games this day. So when lunch finally was over, I couldn't get up. I couldn't even move. Like, I was like, holy shit, what the fuck am I gonna do? You know, like, I'm just barely being able to make it. I remember walking to the staircase. They're like, yo, you, like, the dude that sold me the Xan was Jalen. He was like, yo, are you okay? And his other friend, and I was just like, no, I'm not okay. And I can't walk up the stairs. Like, I had no idea how the fuck I managed to get from the first floor all the way to the sixth floor. You heard it right. First floor to the sixth floor. I did not know or remember how the fuck I made it up there, but I did. While I was barred out as fuck. You know, I remember, once we got back to because I had history class now, you know. Now we're walking into history class. I get into class, and I just go into my normal seat, you know, and one of the kids immediately realized that I was not right. You know, I was just very dazed out. I was just, because I remember I was trying not to put my head down, because I would fall asleep or knock the fuck out. And I remember I was telling this dude that was sitting in front of me, like, yo, dude, can you please, like, wake me up if I fall asleep? He was like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? I was not good. I was so, like, zoned out and barred, like, whatchamacallit, until the history. I remember the history teacher was asking me for my homework. Like, she said this story the next day, because a lot of this information I'm saying is really not off of my memory. It's literally went off of other people telling me the story the next day. She was like, oh, I remember I walked up to you for your homework, and your eyes were all the way closed, and you just kept trying to look through your folder, and you pulled out, you're like, here you go, here you go. I'm like, God damn, I was that intoxicated. Like, shit, I'm never doing that shit again. So after a while, like, now my memory's starting to come back. So right after I gave her the homework. So I remember I gave her homework, and I'm just sitting there, and I'm still dazed the fuck out. She couldn't really, like, continue on to the class. So she made, like, another teacher from another class to pick me up and literally walk me all the way to the nurse office. I will never forget. I was on the elevator I was so barred out as fuck, I can barely walk. Like, when you're barred out, you can't walk. You can barely walk. That's kind of messed up. So I finally get to the nurse's office, and they take my pulse, they take my blood pressure, and they're like, yo, like, you're not good. You're not, like, you're having a heart attack right now. Like, the machine was like, like, I was like, holy shit. But I'm barred out, so I cannot really comprehend everything what's going on. But they were like, holy shit, we gotta immediately send you to the hospital. And they put me onto a wheelchair, and my dad drove me to the hospital, because my dad had to pick me up. And I'm just sitting there on the hospital bed. You know, I finally get to the hospital, and whatchamacallit, they put me on this IV and everything. They put a lot of, like, pads on me. You know, when they put a lot of pads on you when they checking your heart pressure and to see if you're still alive. And I remember just waking up on a hospital bed, and then I'm just hearing the beep, 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 beep. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm in the hospital? Holy fuck. And I'm just looking around, and I remember, well, I was still barred out when this nurse asked me. She's like, "Hey," like she was a pretty nurse at the time, but I was a stupid barred out 15-year-old. I wanted to get her number, flirt with her. If I was like at this age to right now, I would have definitely got her. But she was just like, she was putting in my IV. She's like, "Oh, you're doing a lot of drugs, right? You were just smoking weed." I wanted her to know that I was doing pills. I was like, "Yeah, I was smoking weed," even though at the time I wasn't smoking weed. I was like, "Yeah, it was just off of smoking, all that stuff, yada yada yada." She was like, "Okay, just be careful next time." And I remember the doctor came in. He was like, "Yo, like, the doctor came in like a minute later. He's like, "Bro, like after we took your blood, we found like a category of a lot of different shit in your system. Like it was Xanax, it was a lot of other pressed shit. Like honestly, what I got was probably pressed. Pressed means they literally pressed it down with like a powder to other drugs, mixture it and that shit. I really don't support that. I really don't support that at all. So after he said that, I just immediately just went back to sleep. And my dad told me we were at the hospital for like 7 hours, but to me, it felt like an hour. Like, because I was so drugged out. And it took a long time for me to sober up again. And once I finally sobered up, we got out the hospital, even though I felt the difference. Because, yeah, before I couldn't walk, or I could barely walk. And I was very fucked up. But we finally got to the car. We finally got home. And I remember coming home and my mom was like, "Well, are you popping pills in school? I'm very disappointed in you." And, that made me feel very bad. And, I didn't go to school the next day, obviously, because I overdosed on a drug. And whatchamacallit, I had to snitch on this dude because I'm like, you know what? I snitched on Jalen. I'm like, I don't want him to kill all the other people in the world. It's not that I hate him. I just hate what he does. Because if I'm almost dying off of this drug, I can't imagine what is it doing to all the other people. They're probably dying and shit, So, what was I up to? Yeah, I was at home and I got home. And my mom was like, "Oh, like I'm very disappointed in you." And I wanted to go out for a walk, but she was like, "Nah, just go to bed. And I was just literally forced into my room to go to bed. And I was like, all right, whatever, I'll just go to bed. And I just went to bed and I knocked out. And I woke up the next day and I was like, man, I'm never doing this drug ever again. I don't give a fuck how stressed I am. I'd rather smoke a blunt. Like literally, like even though I didn't literally say that, but I was like, man, I'm never doing this drug again. But months and months later after that, I tried weed, like I said in the weed story, and and that maybe felt a lot better because I was like, I thought this was gonna be the same. I thought because the reason why I did Xanax, right? Like this is the end of the story time. The reason why I did Xanax at the time because I thought all the highs were the same, but I was like, no, not all the highs are the same. It is not that, So I highly do not recommend taking Xanax. Don't even put your hands on that shit. Don't even do it. I'd rather just tell you to smoke weed if you really want to get high, but I hope you guys enjoyed this story time. This is a very long video, but I hope you guys really enjoyed it, and I hope you guys are having a good, blessed day. Thank you.